Hello and welcome to the next video on evolution of higher learning and research in post-independent India. In the last video we had already discussed, we already started with the development of higher education after independence with the Radhakrishnan Commission's recommendations, major recommendations. In this video we will start with the establishment of UGC. It was established UGC is University Grants Commission. It was established in 1953 November, and it was given statutory recognition in November 1956, just 3 years after its establishment. It was actually established for the coordination, determination and maintenance of standards of university education. So its main functions are financial inquiries, allocations, disbursement and recommending the appropriate authority for improvement of higher education or university education. So UGC was actually established for looking after the whole higher education system in India. As we had already said in the last video also, that it was modeled, its functions, its roles and responsibilities all were modeled based on the University Grants Committee of Great Britain. This establishment of UGC has worked as an impetus to the development of higher education in India. It has given a push to the development. So we can say it is a milestone in the development of higher education in India. Then let us next move on to the next commission that was set up after Radhakrishnan Commission, that is the Secondary Education Commission or Mudaliar Commission. But why are we talking about Secondary Education Commission when discussing about the developments in higher education? It is because the secondary, though Secondary Education Commission was appointed for looking after, for examining the conditions of secondary education in the country, but secondary education acts as a bridge between the primary and higher education. So this commission also suggested some measures for the reorganization of secondary education and for its improvement with reference to its relationship with both primary as well as higher education. Okay, so in one way we can say that Mudaliar Commission was somehow connected to higher education also, though it did not give any major recommendation on higher education. Then next comes Kothari Commission, which was appointed on 14th of July 1964 and was chaired by Dr. D.S. Kothari. Kothari Commission was the first education commission which dealt with all the levels of starting from pre-primary to higher education. It dealt with all the levels of education and all aspects of education. This committee submitted its report on 29th of June 1966, and the recommendations of this commission worked as a base for the formulation of first national education policy in independent India. So after Kothari Commission submitted its report in 1966, in 1968, based on this, in 1968, the first national education policy was formulated. So let us now put some light on the major recommendations of Kothari Commission on higher education. So Kothari Commission suggested measures for, gave recommendations for all stages of education, but we will confine our discussion only to the recommendations on higher education. So one of the recommendations was that all universities of India should be made members of Anta Vishwavidyalaya Council. So there should be a council called Anta Vishwavidyalaya Council, and all the universities of India should be a member of this council. Then another recommendation was that 1/3 members of UGC should be representatives of the university. So UGC should be composed of, the members of the UGC should also be composed of representatives from the university. Then it said that major universities should be established. At least about around 6 major universities should be established, which will be these major universities will be kind of model university for other universities, which will have better facilities, better provisions than other universities. Then it suggested for more financial assistance to higher education, and it said that it should be made mandatory for mandatory to take permission from UGC for establishment of any new university. Then another recommendation was that any new university should come up only when it is absolutely necessary. Then it also said that the entry to university should be restricted based on manpower projection. Manpower projection is what? Based on the requirement of manpower. Manpower means the labor force, the kind of labor force that will be required in the economy, in the market, or in future in the job market. That kind of seats or that kind of courses should be developed in the university, and only that much of people should be given entry to the university that will be required, suppose 5 years later or 10 years later or 15 years later. The kind of manpower that will be required in the field of work should be given entry to the university. Then it gave importance to mother tongue or Hindi as medium of instruction, but it also gave English a very prominent place as a library language. Library language means because English was necessary for studying, for gathering knowledge, because many books are many classic books or quality books were available only in English. So it recommended that English has to be given a good place, very important place in the education, particularly in higher education, as a library language. But medium of instruction should be either mother tongue or the federal language, means Hindi. Then based on this Kothari Commission's recommendation, the first national education policy was formulated in 1968. You will see many similarities between the recommendations of Kothari Commission and the points that are there in national education policy. For example, it emphasized on establishing new universities. It emphasized on fields like agriculture, trade, medicine, arts, craft, commerce, home management, secretarial training, means the professional fields, professional education. It also said that because it is not possible for a country like India, who has got independence very recently and is in a developing stage, it is not possible to cater to the larger need of higher education for the people of whole India. So it said that the best option is that correspondence and part-time courses at university stages should be there, so that people can easily access higher education. It also emphasized on strengthening the research in university. It said that high priority should be given to science education and research, and it emphasized that at least one agriculture university should be established in each state. It is very important because it believed that it recognized that India is the economy of, or the social life of India is based on agriculture, and it is very appropriate to give importance to agricultural university or agricultural education. Then it said that in case of technical education, the students should be given practical exposure. There should be production of quality books in regional languages also, like to give competition to the books in English language. There should be quality books in regional languages also. Then it said that there should be new universities only after looking that adequate funding provisions are available for the new universities which are established. It also suggested improvement in training and research facilities, and it suggested for strengthening the centers of advanced studies for in-depth research and in-depth studies in particular areas. And then it suggested for appropriate development in laboratory facilities, library facilities and other services to the students. Then comes the National Education Policy 1986, because around after the previous one was 1968 and the next education policy was 1986. There are very slight modifications in 1986 policy from 1968 one. It accepted the autonomy of universities and colleges and encouraged establishment of autonomous departments and autonomous colleges. Autonomous means it will not be these colleges or these departments are free to formulate their own courses, own system of examination and all. So this autonomy was given to institutions. Flexibility was increased in terms of combination of courses and transformation of teaching learning methods were suggested by introduction of audio visual AV aids, means audio visual aids and other technological equipments. Then it also suggested for systematic assessment of teachers' performance, means the teachers are to be assessed systematically. Special emphasis was given on interdisciplinary study and interdisciplinary research so that flexibility can be given to the learners. Another important point was delinking degrees from jobs, means a particular degree should not be compulsory or mandatory for a particular job. The thing which should be made compulsory are the skills and the knowledge required for a particular job, but not a particular degree or certificate. So this is delinking degrees from jobs. Then it emphasized on establishment of rural universities and institutions, particularly based on Gandhian basic education system. And it also suggested that appropriate formal and non-formal programs of technical education should be started for the benefit of women, economically and socially weaker sections and the physically handicapped, means the backward section of the society or the marginalized section of the society should be given priority in case of education, both through formal and non-formal programs of education, particularly that of technical education. So this is, let us stop here at the National Education Policy 1986. This policy is a major policy which I think which we have run through. You know that the recent policy is NEP 2020. So this 1986 policy has run through around you can say more than 30 years. Okay, so this is the policy on which all of us have gone through in our own education when we got our own education. So these are only the major points or the highlights of the policy. I suggest you to go through all the recommendations and points of whether it is Kothari Commission, Radhakrishnan Commission or National Education Policy 68 and 86 both. You should be aware of all the recommendations for going in depth, for knowing all these recommendations or the developments in higher education in depth. Thank you very much.